The days in Fae Farm, just like our lovely little fairy wings, fly by pretty quickly. And this has been one of the things that I've seen quite a few people say that they're struggling with. So I thought it would be helpful if I ran through with you today how I manage my days, my time within the game. I think with most farming sims, you do need a little bit of a structure to your days just to help you flow and help you progress. And this topic is pretty subjective, so there is definitely no right, no wrong answer when it comes to doing this. It is honestly about finding what works best for you, and this kind of works for me. But if you have a different way, please feel free to share it in the comments below, because you never know, your comment might help other players, and I'm sure they're very appreciative while we're still in the early days of this game. So, before we get into it, don't forget to like and subscribe, but without further ado, welcome to my day. So the very first thing that I will do is tend to my crops. I'm sure this is what a lot of people will do first of all, and I think that it does make the most sense to get this out of the way, because if you get a crop that becomes harvestable, then we can always use that later in a crafting table to make something to sell. Obviously, I will water them if it's not raining. Sometimes I do use my special watering can skill. I think that I'm lazy basically, but I do like to use it when I know that I'm not going to be using a lot of mana throughout the day. I also try and make sure that the harvest does, or the crop does, have some form of fertilizer on them. I tend to use one half of the crops that I've planted with a magical crop swap fertilizer, and the other one I try and use the zippy fertilizer because that speeds up the growth so we can get more crops, which is always great. Obviously, if my crop plots are empty, then I will plant new seeds. This may depend on how many days are left in the month, or generally what I haven't already grown that month so far. So yeah, that is my crops. That's what we like to do first of all. And once I've tended to my crops, the next thing I like to do is look after my animals, because I do tend to forget about this quite a lot in games. At the moment, I have 4 animals, one of each of the basic ranch animals. I am contemplating buying more so that I can breed them, but honestly, 4 is a handful as it is, and with the time restraints in the game, it would be a lot. Anyways, enough about that. I try to make sure I try and fulfill all of the wants of the animals, so petting, brushing, and if they need shearing and milking, I will do that too. I'll also pick up any cotton or eggs that's left behind, and finally, it's important to check their troughs for food. Huge tip, if you're upgrading the troughs, do it ASAP because it is a lifesaver. I often forget to feed them, but with the upgraded trough, then you can just put 10 in there and forget about them. And I will also say that if you want to tend to your animals later in the day, be very careful because you cannot interact with them after they have gone to bed at 7 PM. Just something to be mindful of. The next thing I will do whilst on my farm is head over to my crafting benches. I will check if anything needs collecting and also set new things going. If I need certain things for quests, or if I need certain resources for crafting something in particular, maybe a piece of furniture, I will ensure that I focus on making sure that that's done. But generally, I just make sure that I use the food prep table to prepare for cooking. So we're almost wrapped up on the farm for the day. It's normally about mid-morning, maybe early morning. At this point, if I don't have any quests to do, I'm probably going to head straight to the mines, but I actually do have a quest. I double check my quests at probably around this time just to see what I need to do for the day, and I actually have one that's been outstanding for ages and I don't know why I hadn't done it earlier. So I'm just going to go do that, go check that in, and then I'm going to head straight to the mines. I make sure that I carry some food with me to the mines, just so we've got some energy, because it obviously does take up quite a lot. Whilst I'm on my way there, and like when I'm traveling to anywhere on the map, if I see any bugs, if I see any food that's forageable or anything that's easy to just grab, then I will. I have fully upgraded my backpack now, and yes, sometimes it still does get full, but I do find that this feels like a more kind of seamless way of picking up resources as you go along. I don't tend to if I see a tree, I won't chop that down, but I'm talking more like forageables that don't require too much energy. It just works well for me. Likewise, if I see people, I will just try and have a chat with them, just because the time I don't feel allows for you to be able to run around the whole map and speak to everyone, because there's so many people as well. So that definitely helps out. So then I am heading to the mines. I've grabbed everything that I can. Here is where it's important not to get sucked into the mines too much. Unless you need absolutely loads of resources, I would highly recommend focusing on a few particular things. I always find coal is very important because you need that to make obviously bars and things, and I do find it ends up going down quite quickly. But then I also focus on the higher value kind of gems and things, and if I know I need a bit of iron, then maybe I'll focus on that as well. But maybe I'll do 1-2 levels, maybe grab all of the resources I can from there, and then I'll get out of there, because it's so easy to go level after level after level. But once you've unlocked all of the seals, it's so much easier to be kind of more focused and say, I'm just going to do this, spend a couple of your in-game hours on this particular level, and then go and do something else. So once I've come out of the mines, it's time to focus on something that I might need above land. Maybe if I need some wood, then I'll go and collect that. Or if I need something from the Fae world, then I'll go and focus on collecting some of that. I find like doing this kind of like breaks it up a little bit and just makes it so it's not so grindy, and I always just like having resources on hand. I am a bit of a hoarder. It's also a good chance to kind of have a look around the world and speak to people if you need to. I do find that friendship quests and things like that, the romance ones in particular, they do need to be completed within the same day. So trying to speak to them as early as you can in the day will definitely help you and make sure that you have enough time to do them. Unfortunately, the romance quests that I did have on this day, I have no idea where you get that eel from. So I was just going to abandon that definitely and just kind of focus on the other things. Once I've done that as well, I will also look at the job quest. This is something that I've just recently started doing. So for this one, I had to catch 2 freshwater fish and then turn it into Nessa. So I managed to do that. It wasn't so easy as I thought it would be. I did have a bit of difficulty catching the fish, but we got there in the end. And then I headed down and turned this into Nessa. After I'd spoken to Nessa, I decided that I would head into the inn because there were a few people lurking around here, so it's a good chance to get your friendships up and check if there's any quests outstanding. For example, I did have one here with Frida, which was kind of appropriate, so I just spoke to her and decided to trigger that quest. And then finally, it's time to decide what to sell. So I really quickly headed back to my farm. I had a look through everything that I wanted to sell. I didn't have much, unfortunately. I feel like I need to have a proper go through my inventory, but normally I like to sell polished gems and things like that to get some good money, but we didn't really have any of that today. So I just sold some random bits and pieces that I had, maybe a couple artisan bits, and hopefully this will help kind of make a little bit of money ready for tomorrow. So there we have it, it's bedtime now. That is what a day in my Fae Farm looks like. I try to be as regimented as possible as I can, knowing and planning out what I'm going to do that particular day. It doesn't always work, but if I know that I need a particular resource, that will be kind of my goal for the day, my focus. Or if I want to complete a particular quest, that will be my focus, and then do all of the other things on the side. Sometimes some of those things don't always get done, but focusing on my crops, my crafting benches, and my animals is kind of always my number one goal. If I don't get to speak to someone, they'll be there tomorrow. It's fine. I don't think you should stress too much about it. Just try and be as relaxed as you can and just try and play through the game and enjoy it as you can. And hopefully, maybe we will see more of a relaxed time frame in the game later on. So there we go. I hope you enjoyed this. Have a great rest of your day. Bye bye.